Have you ever found yourself trapped in a cycle of questions that have no answers? Why did they leave? Don't they feel the pain I'm drowning in? Are they haunted by memories of what we had? It's easy to fall into the trap of believing these narratives, imagining a poetic justice where they sit in regret, longing for what they let go. But let's pause for a moment. What if everything you've been telling yourself is a lie? This isn't just about heartbreak. It's about the stories we cling to, the fantasies we build to avoid confronting the cold truth. The truth that they aren't consumed by guilt, they aren't sleepless with regret, and they certainly aren't stuck like you. But does that mean you've lost? Absolutely not. The way forward lies not in waiting for karma to knock on their door, but in reclaiming your power and rewriting your narrative. This is your wake-up call, your chance to break free from the chains of their absence. It's time to stop waiting for apologies that will never come and closure that doesn't exist. What I'm about to share with you will challenge everything you've believed about healing, about them, and about yourself. Together, we'll uncover a perspective rooted in Stoicism, one that prioritizes self-mastery, growth, and the quiet power of letting go. This isn't just advice, it's a blueprint for transformation. So stay with me until the end, because what you'll discover might just change how you see everything. Ready? Let's dive in. 1. The pain of being left behind. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself sitting there, staring at the ceiling, waves of memories crashing over you. Every moment of what you had, every word, every touch, it's all replaying like a broken record. You imagine them sitting in silence too, haunted by the weight of their actions, regret etched on their face. Maybe you even tell yourself, one day they'll feel what I feel. They'll miss me the way I miss them. But here's the uncomfortable truth. They're not. They're out there living their life, laughing, smiling, and moving forward while you sit in the wreckage of what they left behind. They've already detached, already started a new chapter, while you're still stuck on a page they've long since turned. It's tempting, isn't it, to hold on to the belief that your pain somehow becomes their punishment, that your silence will teach them a lesson. But has it? Or are you the only one trapped in this cage of memories? Think about it. How often have you replayed those old conversations, dissected every word, and wondered where it all went wrong? And how often has that brought you closer to peace? You're waiting for karma to come knocking on their door. But in doing so, aren't you keeping your own door locked? You're holding out for something that doesn't serve you, something that keeps you chained to the past while they walk freely into their future. It's a hard pill to swallow, but one you must take if you want to move forward. This is where Stoicism comes in. The philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control and to release what we can't. Can you control their thoughts, their emotions, their regrets? No. But you can control how much space they take up in your mind. You can control whether you sit in that silence waiting for them or rise to create something better for yourself. The question is, which path will you choose? The first step is to confront the reality of their absence, not the romanticized version where they're haunted by you, but the real one where they've moved on. And no, that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their inability to see what they had. They walked away because they could, and you let them because you cared too much. But now it's time to stop waiting. Waiting gives them power. It chains you to a past that no longer exists. Let me ask you something. Do you really want to be the one still standing in this battlefield long after the war is over? Do you want to keep giving them your energy, your time, your soul? Or are you ready to declare once and for all, I'm done waiting? This is where you start to reclaim your power. Not by holding on to the hope that they'll feel the same pain you're feeling, but by choosing to let go. By realizing that their absence doesn't define you, your response to it does. You're not here to live in their shadow. You're here to step into your own light. So say it out loud right now. I'm done waiting. Write it in the comments, because when you declare it, you make it real. This isn't just a passing thought, it's your first step toward freedom. And freedom, my friend, is where your real strength lies. 2. The illusion of their loneliness. Let's break through the fantasy you've been holding on to, The one where they're sitting in a dark room, haunted by memories of you, feeling the crushing weight of regret. It's a powerful image, isn't it? But it's also a lie. A comforting lie that keeps you stuck. Think about it. How often have you scrolled through their social media, searching for cracks in the facade? You see them smiling, living, thriving, or so it seems. You tell yourself it's fake, that they're just putting on a show, and maybe they are. But does that change the reality of your pain? Does obsessing over their highlight reel bring you closer to healing? Here's the truth. They're not sitting in the dark thinking about you. They're distracted by attention, by noise, by the next shiny thing that feeds their ego. People like this don't feel alone in the way you do. They don't process loss like you. Why? Because they don't value connection, they value control. They move from one person to the next, seeking validation like a parasite seeks a host. It's not love they miss, it's the power they had over you. And yet you sit here imagining a grand reckoning where they'll suddenly realize what they lost. But let me ask you this. Even if that day comes, even if they wake up one morning consumed by regret, will that undo what they did? Will it erase the pain they caused? Or are you still holding on to the illusion that their suffering will somehow heal your wounds? Stoicism reminds us of an essential truth. You cannot control another person's journey, only your own. Their guilt, their loneliness, their downfall, it's not yours to orchestrate. What you can control is how much energy you give to these fantasies. What you can do is choose to stop imagining their regret and start focusing on your own growth. Here's the thing. People like them don't sit in silence. They don't dwell on the past. They distract themselves with the noise of new people, new stories, new games. But that's their cycle, not yours. You have the power to break free, to stop feeding the false narrative that keeps you tethered to their actions. So why do you keep holding on? Is it because you believe that their loneliness will validate your worth? That if they suffer, it somehow proves they cared? Here's a hard truth. Their pain, or lack of it, has nothing to do with your value. You were worthy before them, and you're worthy without them. Their inability to feel deeply isn't a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. The illusion of their loneliness is just that, an illusion. And it's one you need to let go of if you ever want to find peace. Instead of focusing on their journey, shift your gaze inward. Ask yourself, how much longer will I give them free rent in my mind? How much longer will I let their absence dictate my happiness? The moment you decide to let go of this illusion is the moment you reclaim your power. Now, let's make this real. If you're ready to start breaking free, if you're done holding on to the fantasy of their loneliness, then let me know you're with me. Like this video and comment number 1 below if this message is hitting home. Your engagement isn't just about supporting this content, it's about declaring to yourself and the world that you're taking the first step toward freedom. And don't stop there. If you're finding strength in these words, make sure to subscribe to this channel. This is a space for transformation, a place where you'll find the tools and perspective to rise above. Together, we'll navigate the path forward one step at a time. Because the truth is, their loneliness doesn't matter. What matters is your freedom, your growth, and your ability to let go of what no longer serves you. This is your moment. Don't let it pass by. Like the video, comment, and subscribe because this is just the beginning of your story. 3. Why you feel alone. It's a cruel twist, isn't it? They're the ones who walked away, yet you're the one left feeling abandoned, lost, and isolated. How did it come to this? How did someone who was once so integral to your life suddenly become a ghost, while their absence consumes every corner of your mind? If you've ever asked yourself these questions, you're not alone. Let's take a closer look at what's really happening here. You feel alone because you cared. You invested deeply your time, your love, your energy, all in the hope that this person would value you the way you valued them. But they didn't. And when they left, they didn't just take themselves, they took the version of you that existed when you were with them. That's what hurts the most. You're grieving not just them, but the person you were when you felt seen, chosen, loved. But let me ask you this, was it real? Did they truly see you? Or were they just reflecting back what you wanted to see? Stoicism teaches us to separate appearance from reality, to question the illusions we build around others and ourselves. So, let's be honest, did their love fill you, or did you fill the gaps they left behind with your own hope? Were they truly present with you, or were they only present enough to keep you invested? You're sitting in the silence now, staring at the void they left, and it feels unbearable. But that void isn't punishment, it's possibility. You see, you've been looking at loneliness all wrong. Loneliness isn't about their absence. It's about the space they took up in your life, the space you've been too afraid to fill with yourself. This silence, this stillness, is your opportunity to rebuild, not for them, not for anyone else, but for you. Why does it hurt so much though? Because you gave them everything, and now it feels like they took everything with them. But here's the truth. They didn't take anything that belongs to you. Your worth, your value, your capacity to love, they're all still there. You just need to turn your attention inward to reclaim what was always yours. But that's easier said than done, isn't it? The nights feel endless, the ache in your chest never seems to fade, and every memory feels like a fresh wound. You might even tell yourself, if only I had done something differently, maybe they'd still be here. But let's pause for a moment. Is that really true? Or is it just another illusion, one designed to keep you stuck in the past, chasing answers that will never come? The Stoic way of thinking challenges us to focus not on what we've lost, but on what remains. So what remains for you? You still have your strength, your resilience, your ability to grow. You still have the power to choose how you respond to this pain. Will you let it define you, or will you use it as fuel to rise? It's tempting to romanticize the person who left, to paint them as the missing piece to your happiness. But were they really that? Or were they just a chapter in your story, a chapter that, while painful, is leading you to something greater? You're not alone because you're unworthy. You're alone because you gave too much of yourself to someone who never deserved it. And now it's time to give that love back to yourself. Loneliness is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It's here to show you the parts of yourself that you've been neglecting, the dreams you've put on hold, the strength you've underestimated. What if, instead of running from it, you leaned into it? What if you allowed this emptiness to become the foundation for something new, something unshakable? I know it's hard to believe right now, but this pain won't last forever. It's like a storm. You can't stop it, but you can weather it. And when it passes, you'll find that the ground beneath you is more solid than you ever imagined. This is the essence of Stoicism: to endure, to grow, and to find peace not in avoiding hardship, but in facing it head on. You feel alone now, but you won't forever. The person you're becoming, the one who is learning to stand on their own, to fill their life with meaning and purpose, that person is waiting for you on the other side of this. And when you meet them, you'll realize that their absence wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your freedom. So sit with this loneliness. Don't run from it. Let it teach you, shape you, and guide you toward the life you deserve. You're not alone, you're just in the process of finding yourself. And that's the most powerful journey you'll ever take. 4. When they finally feel alone. You've imagined it, haven't you? The day they finally feel the weight of what they've done. The moment they sit in silence, haunted by your absence, regretting every decision that led to this point. You picture them scrolling through old messages, replaying memories, longing for the love they threw away. It feels like justice, doesn't it? Like the universe finally balancing the scales. But here's the reality. That day will come, but it won't look like the poetic reckoning you've dreamed of. People like them don't feel loneliness the way you do. They don't sit in quiet reflection, learning lessons and seeking redemption. They run from it. They distract themselves with noise, with new people, new stories, new games. Their life is a series of temporary highs, masking the emptiness they refuse to confront. So when will they feel alone? Not now. Not while they have someone new feeding their ego. Not while their phone lights up with endless validation. But one day, when the attention fades, when the bridges they've burned finally catch up to them, they will. And it won't be because of you. It will be because of who they are. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what is within our control. Their eventual loneliness, their reckoning, is not yours to anticipate or orchestrate. What matters is not what happens to them, but what happens to you. Will you waste your time waiting for that moment, or will you use this time to grow, to rise, to become someone so powerful and fulfilled that their regret no longer matters? Let's be clear. Their downfall, whenever it comes, won't undo what they did. It won't erase the pain or validate your worth. Healing doesn't come from watching someone else suffer. It comes from reclaiming your life and letting go of the need for their regret. You don't need their apology to move forward. You don't need their loneliness to feel whole. You are complete as you are without their acknowledgement. Imagine this. By the time they finally feel alone, you'll be so far ahead they won't even recognize the version of you they once knew. You'll be living a life filled with purpose, surrounded by people who truly value you, and they'll be nothing more than a distant memory. Their loneliness will not be your closure. It will simply be the natural consequence of their choices. And by then you won't even care. So why wait? Why give them more of your energy, your time, your thoughts? The moment you stop waiting for their reckoning is the moment you reclaim your power. It's the moment you shift your focus from their journey to your own. Because this isn't about them, it's about you. And if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to let go of the need for their regret and start focusing on your own growth, then let me know. Like this video and comment number 1 below. Declare that you're done waiting, that you're ready to rise. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Together we'll explore what it means to truly heal, to grow, and to build a life so full and unstoppable that their absence feels irrelevant. This isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of something extraordinary. Let's keep going. 5. Breaking the cycle. It's easy to believe that you're just another chapter in their story, a name they'll forget as they move on to their next conquest. After all, isn't that their pattern? Manipulate, take, discard, repeat. But what if I told you that you're more than that? What if I told you that you have the power to end the cycle, not just for them but for yourself? You see, people like them thrive in cycles. Their relationships aren't about connection, they're about control. They know exactly how to draw people in, to make them feel special, needed, irreplaceable. And then, when they've taken all they can, they move on, leaving you to wonder what you did wrong. But here's the truth. You didn't do anything wrong. They didn't leave because of something you lacked. They left because they never intended to stay. They left because their emotional currency is manipulation, not love. And you were strong enough to finally see through it. That's why breaking the cycle is so powerful. It's not about revenge or making them regret losing you. It's about refusing to play the same game they've been playing for years. When you step out of their web, when you walk away for good, you force them to face a reality they've spent their life running from. That their patterns no longer work and their power is gone. Think about it. How many times have they relied on second chances? How many fake apologies have they given knowing you'd forgive them? How many promises have they made only to break them when it suited them? They built their life on the assumption that people like you will always stay, always hope, always wait. But not this time. This time you're walking away not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity. You're closing the door they thought would always stay open. And in doing so, you're teaching them a lesson they'll never forget. That their cycle ends with you. But let me ask you this. Why is it so hard to close that door? Is it because you still believe in the version of them they pretended to be? Is it because you're afraid of what letting go means for you? Stoicism teaches us that fear often lies at the root of our attachment, not love, not loyalty, but fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of not being enough. But here's the thing. Breaking the cycle isn't about fear, it's about freedom. It's about reclaiming your life, your time, your energy. It's about realizing that their absence isn't a loss, it's a gift. It's the universe's way of saying, this person was never meant to stay. And while it may hurt now, the pain is temporary. The freedom, the growth, the self-discovery, that's forever. So how do you break the cycle? It starts with a choice. A choice to stop answering their calls, to stop reading their messages, to stop hoping for a change that will never come. It's not about erasing the past, it's about refusing to let it dictate your future. Breaking the cycle means setting boundaries, not just with them but with yourself. It means saying, I deserve better, and holding yourself to that standard. It means recognizing that their inability to love has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their flaws. And here's the most powerful part. Breaking the cycle isn't just about you. It's about every person who comes after you. By walking away, you're not only freeing yourself, you're showing them that their actions have consequences. You're setting a precedent, forcing them to confront the reality they've been avoiding. Will they change? Maybe, maybe not. But that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your growth, your healing, your peace. The moment you stop trying to fix them is the moment you start fixing yourself. And when you do, something incredible happens. You realize that their games, their manipulation, their toxic patterns, they were never about you. They were about them. You were simply caught in their cycle. But now, you're free. So where do you go from here? Forward. You move forward not because you've forgotten them, but because you've remembered yourself. You break the cycle not to hurt them, but to heal yourself. And in doing so, you become the person they never expected you to be. Whole, independent, untouchable. This is your moment. This is your time. Break the cycle and don't look back, because the future you're building is too bright to let their shadow linger. And that, my friend, is real power. 6. Why they never deserved your best. Let's face it, you gave them everything, didn't you? Your love, your time, your patience, all of it, poured into someone who couldn't see its value. You stayed when you should have walked away, forgave when they didn't deserve it, and fought for them when they didn't even lift a finger for you. And now they're gone, leaving you to wonder if it was all a waste. But was it? Let's dig deeper. You didn't lose because you loved deeply. You didn't fail because you gave your best. In fact, giving your best is proof of your strength, your capacity to love, and your willingness to stand by someone even when it wasn't easy. That's not weakness, it's power. But here's the truth. Your best was wasted on someone who was incapable of appreciating it. Think about all the moments you compromised your boundaries for them. How many times did you apologize for things that weren't your fault? How often did you lower your standards, telling yourself that if you just loved harder, they'd finally see your worth? But did they? Or did they take advantage of your kindness, mistaking it for permission to continue their selfish behavior? The problem wasn't you. The problem was that they didn't have the capacity to meet you where you were. People like them aren't looking for deep love. They're looking for control. They don't want a partner. They want someone who will accommodate their flaws without holding them accountable. And when you finally started expecting the bare minimum, respect, effort, honesty, they bolted. Does that make you less worthy? Absolutely not. In fact, it's the opposite. Stoicism teaches us that external events, whether someone stays or leaves, don't determine our value. Your worth isn't defined by someone else's inability to see it. Their departure doesn't diminish you, it reveals them. You see, leaving you was their way of avoiding growth. Real love demands accountability, effort, and change, things they were never willing to give. So they took the easy way out. But their leaving isn't a reflection of what you lacked. It's proof of what they couldn't handle. They walked away from your best because they couldn't rise to meet it. So what now? What do you do with all the love, effort, and kindness that you gave so freely? The answer is simple. You give it to yourself. Your best wasn't wasted. It's still there, waiting for someone who will see it for the treasure it is. And until that person comes along, you invested in the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. Imagine what your life could look like if you gave yourself the same energy you gave to them. Imagine if you took all the love you poured into that relationship and used it to build the life you deserve. That's not just healing, that's power. And it's the kind of power that makes you unstoppable. But let me ask you this. How much longer will you let their actions dictate your story? How much longer will you question your worth because of their inability to see it? Stoicism reminds us that we control our perception. You can choose to see this experience as a loss, or you can choose to see it as the moment you reclaimed your power. Now, if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to stop questioning your worth and start embracing the truth that they never deserved your best, then let me know. Like this video and comment number 1 below. Declare that you're done giving your best to people who can't value it. And if you're ready to keep growing, to keep rising, then make sure to subscribe to this channel. This is your space for transformation, where you'll find the strength to not only move forward but to thrive. You've already given your best to someone who didn't deserve it. Now it's time to give that best to yourself. Let's continue this journey together. 7. How to stop feeling alone. Loneliness, it's a word heavy with emotion, one that can feel like a sentence rather than a state. You've likely felt it pressing down on you, a quiet ache that grows louder in the silence. They left, and now you're left to navigate a world that feels empty without them. But let's get to the heart of it. What is loneliness really? Is it their absence, or is it something deeper? Here's the hard truth. They aren't the cure for your loneliness. They never were. The illusion was convincing though, wasn't it? You believed that their presence could fill the void, that their return would heal the ache inside you. But would it? Or would it simply delay the inevitable realization that no one else can fill a space meant for you? Loneliness isn't about them. It's about the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. It's about the dreams you put on hold, the goals you abandoned, the pieces of your identity you lost while trying to make them stay. When they left, they didn't just leave a gap in your life. They revealed one that was already there. The question is, how will you fill it? Stoicism offers us a profound perspective on loneliness. It teaches us that external circumstances, who stays, who leaves, don't define our peace. What matters is how we respond to the void. Will you let it consume you, or will you use it as an opportunity to rebuild? The choice is yours, and it's one only you can make. But let's be honest. The silence is deafening, isn't it? It's in the stillness of the night, in the quiet moments where your mind drifts back to them. You miss them, not just their presence, but the version of yourself you were when they were around. You miss feeling chosen, valued, loved. But let me ask you this. Were they truly giving you that, or were you giving it to yourself through them? Did their love really make you whole, or did you fill in the blanks with your own hope and belief? Here's the truth. You don't need someone else to choose you to be worthy. You don't need their presence to validate your existence. The loneliness you feel isn't a punishment. It's a call to return to yourself. It's the universe handing you a blank slate, an opportunity to rebuild your life with you at the center. How do you stop feeling alone? You start by filling that space with yourself. Revisit the dreams you've been neglecting. Take up the hobbies you've put aside. Reconnect with the parts of yourself that you lost along the way. This isn't about distraction, it's about creation. It's about becoming the person you've always wanted to be, not for someone else, but for you. It's not easy though, is it? The memories still linger, the pain still burns. You might even wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. But consider this, the strongest people you know, the ones who radiate confidence and peace, they didn't get there without walking through fire. Your pain isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your transformation. And transformation starts with one simple truth: you are enough. You've always been enough. The love you gave to them, the patience, the kindness, the understanding, it's still within you. It didn't disappear when they walked away. It's waiting for you to redirect it, to give it back to yourself. Stop waiting for someone else to complete you. Stop hoping that their return will make you feel whole. Start becoming the person you've always needed. The person who doesn't just survive loneliness but thrives in it. The person who sees solitude not as a void but as freedom. When you lean into the loneliness, when you let it teach you instead of fearing it, something incredible happens. You stop looking for external validation. You stop chasing people who don't value you. And most importantly, you start realizing that the only person who can truly heal you is the one staring back at you in the mirror. You're not alone, you're in transition. This is your time to grow, to rebuild, to rediscover yourself. It won't happen overnight, and it won't happen without effort. But with each step you take, with each moment you choose yourself over the fantasy of them, you'll find that the ache begins to fade. Not because someone else filled the gap, but because you did. So here's the question. How will you use this time? Will you sit in the silence, longing for something that wasn't real? Or will you rise, take control, and build a life so fulfilling that loneliness becomes a distant memory? The choice is yours, and it's one you're strong enough to make. This isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your freedom. And once you embrace that freedom, you'll realize that you were never truly alone. You had yourself all along, and that was always enough. 8. Why you need to stop waiting. Let me ask you something. How much longer are you willing to wait? How many more nights will you spend refreshing your notifications, hoping for a text that says, "I miss you"? How many more mornings will you wake up wondering if today will be the day they realize what they lost? Be honest with yourself. How long has it been? Days, weeks, months? And in all that time, has waiting brought you any closer to peace? Here's the truth. Waiting is the slowest poison. It keeps you tethered to a past that no longer exists, a relationship that's already over. Every second you spend waiting for them to reach out is a second you lose in building the life you deserve. And the worst part, they're not waiting for you. They're not lying awake at night, haunted by regret. They've moved on, while you're still stuck in this loop of false hope. Why do we wait, though? Why is it so hard to let go of the idea that they might come back? It's because waiting feels safe. It allows you to avoid the finality of their absence. As long as you're waiting, there's a sliver of hope, a chance, however slim, that things might go back to the way they were. But let me ask you this, do you even want that? Do you truly want to go back to a situation where you gave everything and got so little in return? Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, and here's what you can control. Your time, your energy, your thoughts. Right now, you're giving all of those to someone who isn't even aware of it. You're building your days around the possibility of their return, sacrificing your present for a future that may never happen. Is that how you want to live? Waiting gives them power. It allows them to continue living rent-free in your mind while you put your own life on hold. But here's the thing, they don't deserve that power. They don't deserve your time, your energy, your thoughts. And the longer you wait, the more you give them what they no longer deserve. So, how do you stop waiting? It starts with a decision to reclaim your life, to take back the time and energy you've been pouring into a fantasy. Say it out loud. I'm done waiting. Write it down, repeat it to yourself, make it your mantra. This isn't about them anymore. It's about you. Imagine what your life could look like if you stopped waiting. Imagine the goals you could achieve, the relationships you could build, the peace you could find. By letting go of the hope that they'll come back, you make space for something better, something real. And isn't that what you deserve? Now, I know what you're thinking. What if they come back? What if they realize what they lost and want another chance? Here's the answer. If they truly cared, they wouldn't have left in the first place. If they really valued you, they would have shown it while they had you. And even if they do come back, it won't be because they've changed. It will be because they missed the control they had over you. I don't give them that chance. Don't let them return to the person you were when they left. Rise so far above this situation that their return feels irrelevant. Become someone so strong, so fulfilled, that their apology, if it ever comes, feels like dust in the wind. You don't need their closure. You don't need their regret. The only closure you need is the moment you decide to stop waiting. The moment you realize that their absence doesn't define your worth, that you are complete as you are without their validation. So if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to stop waiting and start living, let me know. Like this video and comment number 1 below. Declare that you're done waiting, that you're ready to reclaim your life. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Together, we'll continue exploring how to rise above, how to grow, and how to build a life so powerful that waiting for someone else feels like a distant memory. This is your journey, and it's only just beginning. Let's move forward together. 9. The real victory. Rising above. Let's talk about victory. Not the kind of shallow revenge you imagine when you think of them sitting alone, regretting everything. Not the fleeting satisfaction of seeing them reach out to you in desperation. Real victory isn't about them, it's about you. It's about becoming someone so whole, so strong, that their absence doesn't just feel irrelevant, it feels like a gift. Right now you might think, how could their leaving ever be a gift? But consider this. Their absence has given you the freedom to grow. It's given you the space to rediscover who you are, to focus on what truly matters. Without them taking up so much room in your heart and mind, you now have the opportunity to fill that space with things that bring you joy, peace, and purpose. But what does it mean to rise above? It means letting go of the fantasy that their regret will heal you. It means realizing that closure doesn't come from them, it comes from within you. Stoicism teaches us that our peace is not dependent on others but on our ability to master ourselves. You don't need their apology to move forward. You don't need their validation to feel worthy. You don't need their regret to know your value. Rising above means shifting the focus from their journey to your own. Ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to build? What kind of person do I want to become? This isn't about proving anything to them or to anyone else. It's about living for yourself on your own terms. It's about becoming someone who doesn't just survive but thrives. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that you haven't thought about them in weeks. Imagine looking back and feeling nothing, not anger, not sadness, not longing. That's not indifference, it's freedom. It's the kind of peace that comes when you've built a life so fulfilling that the people who hurt you no longer have a place in it. But how do you get there? You start by taking small, intentional steps every day. Pursue a goal you've been putting off. Learn something new. Surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you. These actions might seem small at first, but they add up. Each step forward is a step away from the past. And when they do cross your mind, and they will, from time to time, remind yourself that their role in your story is over. They were a chapter, not the whole book. You've turned the page, and the rest of the story is yours to write. They no longer have power over you unless you give it to them, so don't. The most important part of rising above is understanding that their downfall, whenever it comes, is irrelevant to your journey. You don't need to see them suffer to heal. You don't need to witness their loneliness to feel whole. Their karma, their consequences, those are theirs to face, not yours to anticipate. Let them go, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Here's the truth. People like them always end up alone. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Their inability to form genuine connections will catch up with them. But by the time it does, you won't care. You'll be too busy living a life so full and vibrant that their absence feels like a distant memory. And that's the real victory. Not that they regret losing you, but that you no longer care whether they do. Not that they feel your absence, but that you've built a life where their presence no longer matters. That's power. That's freedom. That's rising above. As you move forward, remember this. Their story isn't your story. Their failure to love you isn't your failure. Their inability to stay isn't a reflection of your worth. The real victory is in choosing yourself, in deciding that your happiness, your peace, your future are worth more than their regret. So rise. Build a life so strong, so unshakable, that their memory becomes nothing more than a whisper in the wind. This is your moment, your journey, your victory. And it's one they'll never have the privilege to be part of again. This is it, the turning point you've been waiting for, the moment where you choose what comes next. You've spent too much time waiting for their apology, their regret, their realization. But here's the truth. You don't need any of it. You don't need their closure to heal, their validation to feel worthy, or their regret to rise above. Everything you've been searching for has been within you all along. Their leaving wasn't your ending, it was your beginning. a chance to rediscover yourself, to rebuild your life with purpose and strength. You've learned what you will and won't tolerate, what you deserve and what you're capable of. And now it's time to take all of that and move forward. Let this be your declaration. No more waiting. No more giving power to someone who didn't deserve it. No more clinging to the hope that their suffering will somehow complete your healing. This is about you now, your growth, your journey, your freedom. So take the first step. Let go of the story you've been telling yourself about them. And start writing a new one where you are the main character, the hero, the one who chooses their own path. Build a life so full, so powerful, that their absence feels like a footnote in the masterpiece you're creating. If this message has resonated with you, let it fuel your transformation. Don't just think about it, act on it. Use this moment as the spark to ignite the next chapter of your life. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. You have the strength, the resilience, and the power to rise, and nothing, not their absence, not their actions, not their regret, can take that away from you. Thank you for being here, for sharing this space, and for taking the time to reflect on what truly matters. You are worthy, you are enough. And you are just getting started. Now go out there and live a life that makes their memory irrelevant, a life so fulfilling that it speaks for itself. Wishing you strength, peace, and the freedom to rise. Let's continue this journey together, one step at a time.